This is Transplant Lifelines, empowering patient engagement and long-term graft survival. Kidney disease threatens the lives of more than 37 million people nationwide, and 90% are unaware until they've reached advanced stages. Sadly, kidney disease kills more than 90,000 Americans every year, more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. In our nation alone, there are 670,000 people in advanced stages of kidney disease, and 470,000 are currently tethered to a dialysis machine as their only means for survival. The remaining 200,000 who were fortunate enough to receive a kidney transplant must agree to follow a lifelong routine of immunosuppression to protect their transplanted organ. This daily pledge to rigorously adhere to on-time and never-to-be-missed immunosuppressive therapies is not negotiable. These medications are the recipient's lifeline to keeping their body from rejecting their transplanted organ. This responsibility can be an overwhelming process for those who have not been invited to engage and actively discuss their concerns and observations. Recipients are eager to learn how to extend the life of their transplant and sustain their quality of life, yet their voices are often muted by set routines and time limitations. They need to understand how their medications interact with other medications, including vitamins, supplements, and the foods they eat. They'd like to know how their anti-rejection medications stack up to other options, so they can empower their voices to make more informed choices. They're curious about new technologies, clinical trials, and non-invasive options to proactively flag and treat early signs of rejection. All in all, transplant recipients respect their role and partnership with their kidney care team because they understand the importance of being engaged in coordinated communications between their nephrologist and transplant center. For each step they take is filled with immense gratitude and responsibility. They are true champions, forever safeguarding one of life's most remarkable gifts. These are their stories.
I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease in 2012. I received my kidney transplant on January 8th of 2016, when my kidney function was below 10%. It was really a time of struggle, both mentally and physically, for me, worried about my future and worried about my family's future. Now that I've received my transplant through the selfless act of a young lady who gave me one of her kidneys just because she wanted to help, my life has been full of ambition, full of joy and gratitude. Having received this gift comes with very tremendous amounts of responsibility, which I do not take lightly. One thing is making sure that I am committed to taking my immunosuppressive medications daily, and to do it very seriously and without exception. I do wish that prior to my transplant that I had been able to have a more open lines of communication and partnership with my kidney care team that I had at the time. You can't do this alone. It's good to have a team. It's good to have a village. And I realize that now that I play a vital role in my transplant success.
I was first diagnosed with kidney disease when I was about 13 years old. I inherited polycystic kidney disease from my mom, so it really wasn't much of a surprise. I really didn't start having symptoms though until my late 40s. And once I started having symptoms and my health started to fail, I was, of course, worried about my future and my family's future, especially when my kidney function started to dip to about 10%. Fortunately, before I had to go on dialysis, I had a donor and I received a transplant at age 52, November 17th, 2010 to be specific. I just had my 10-year anniversary this year. Because of my donor and his selfless act, it really turned my life around, and I'm able to now lead a full and productive life. So I'm well aware that kidney donation is a gift, and because of that gift, it comes with a responsibility that I take very seriously. I take my meds twice daily, I keep my doctor appointments, and I see my nephrologist often, and I try to eat well and exercise. There have been some side effects from the transplant. Skin cancers are, for me, probably the biggest side effect. Maintaining a consistent ProGraph level has also been a challenge. So that is something that I have to engage with my nephrologist and the transplant team to either go up or go down on that specific medication. I'm still connected to my transplant team. I see them about once a year in addition to the visits with my nephrologist. My transplant team and nephrologist are part of the same network, so they do share information with each other, and that's good. What I've benefited from is engaging my nephrologist and working with them to always understand what my given options are. I think it would be beneficial, however, to have some kind of a platform that would help patients like myself better understand what the levels are, perhaps options for other immunosuppressant medications, the pros and cons and side effects of those medications. I know for me that would be very helpful. I do want to say overall, however, how grateful I am, not just for my donor, but for those amazing drugs that have kept me healthy for 10 years and hopefully beyond.
In 1987, I was diagnosed with lupus. This led to kidney failure in 1991. After being on peritoneal dialysis for 6 years, I received a kidney transplant from a deceased donor. My life changed literally quite overnight after receiving a kidney transplant, and I experienced 23 glorious years with the transplant. It failed, sadly, in year 2020, but I have to say I'm so thankful for the time it gave me. Life after transplant came with its own set of challenges. I had to learn how to get used to taking anti-rejection drugs in order to avoid the kidney from rejecting. I also had to learn that my life was now lab-driven. And as I reflect back on those years and months of having the transplant, I realized how fortunate I was to have a tremendous family support system, and I had an awesome transplant team. And I say that because they kept me so well informed during that time. I was able to call them. They made sure I understood my plan of care. They understood what medications I'll be on when I had the transplant. They made sure that all my needs were met. I met with my surgeon on a regular basis, and that made I built a relation with them, and they did it with me, and so I felt part of a team. This time around, I realized that with my new current transplant team, that I was quite spoiled by that. And now that I have a new transplant team, I'm not getting that same type of relationship. I'm not having that with them. And I feel that that's because that's lacking. I'm not being well informed about my choices. For example, of what type of medications that they have available now for anti-rejection drugs. What are their contraindications, if there are any? What are the side effects that they have? such as, do they cause tremors like some of them do? Do they cause insomnia? And also cancer. So these things are very important. I'd also like to know if there are clinical trials being ran, if there are new technologies for transplant. This type of information is so important, and this type of relationship with your medical team is so important, because being a patient who's well informed can make good choices and decisions. And this ultimately will determine your quality of life while waiting for the transplant, your quality of life while after receiving the transplant, and not getting that information. It can shorten your transplant life, and also can shorten your quality of life.